we are all works in progress, right? We all have a lot of room to grow, and that's the fun part. And yes, you can absolutely become a nurse coach while you are on your journey. The only thing is to recognize that you're on your journey. You're supporting your clients on theirs as you also walk your own talk along the way. What's up, nurses and nurse coaches? Welcome back to the Nurse Coach Collective podcast. I'm your host, Heather Lapidus, co-founder of the Nurse Coach Collective, and I am so thrilled to be here today, my very first podcast recording coming back from maternity leave, and get to share this incredible moment with Nurse Coach Tiffany Homan. Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, quick introduction here, though. You're going to see from these few words I'll share with you that there is so much goodness and depth to what we're going to have the chance to learn about Tiffany. Tiffany is a graduate of the Nurse Coach Collective and a board-certified nurse coach. Now, in her nurse coaching practice, she supports others in transforming their lives, their mindsets, and emotions while supporting their nervous system to break free from the chains of their past. All of this so that she can fulfill her purpose of helping others show up for their lives as they truly desire in a sustainable way. So, Tiffany, wow, just like reading those words out loud, I feel like overwhelmed with excitement to get to be connecting with you and also curiosity to get to go deeper with you and find out what all of that really means.
Yes. I am excited to see what we talk about. And I always find when I am trying to describe my work, it is definitely interesting. I like to just say I'm multi-passionate. And so, I'm excited to see what we dive into today.
Multi-passionate. That's like a brilliant word to describe, I think, how a lot of nurse coaches feel and part of what drives them to nurse coaching, or at least it's how they end up feeling once they become nurse coaches and realize kind of all that's possible and realize like, oh, under this umbrella of nurse coaching, I get the time and space and energy to delve into all of these different areas of my calling and of my purpose and my passion. So beautifully said. I have a lot of questions because I want to kind of tease apart your journey in becoming a nurse coach and all that you have created in your practice, because you're doing such amazing things. And as I said, you're doing really kind of deep work that I think we just need to hear more about in order to understand what that is. And I also am so excited to have you in particular here because from the bits that I have gleaned to get to know you as you moved through the Nurse Coach Collective course and from what you've shared on social media. Now, I know we don't know each other super well, but I feel like I've gotten to know you because you've chosen to share really vulnerably some parts of your story and your own growth and how that has allowed you to then show up as a nurse coach and show up as your clients. Would that be something that you'd be interested in talking about with us today?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool. And I won't dive right into the deep end, but that's kind of where I want to go, and I'm really excited to hear it.
I love playing in the deep end, so we can absolutely go there.
I know you do. And you know what? It's like some people who aren't in the nurse coaching world have that term doesn't even mean anything, right? Playing in the deep end. It literally, you're like, what are you talking about? Are we going swimming here? So that in and of itself is like getting to put some meaning to it is going to be really cool. So, okay. Before we dive into the deep end, let's start broad. Let's start with like, where were you as a nurse or on your journey? Where were you before the Nurse Coach Collective? Maybe before you even heard about nurse coaching. What was life like for you then?
I remember it quite well. I was actually in a lot of a very transitional part of my life. A lot of things were going on just within my own personal life. I was actually at the time living with my in-laws. We were building a house for the first time. And so a lot of exciting things were kind of happening on the outside, just in my personal life. Professionally, I was working in the emergency room. There was just so many different things that were going on, but mentally I was still really, really struggling. So a little part of my backstory was I was in an extremely emotional, mentally abusive relationship, and it had been quite some time, right? Years at this point. But I was still just like struggling. I was now happily remarried. I had two beautiful babies, and there was still this like piece of me that just felt so sad all of the time. And I was like searching for something. I had no idea what it was. And I always joke, but I feel like TikTok is like how I ended up here. And I say that with just like, I know how silly that sounds, but I remember just like searching online, and I didn't even know what like TikTok was at the time, and just coming across some of these like videos that really, really spoke to my heart. And I had like a huge realization that a lot of things really, really needed to change, and that I was struggling a lot more than I was admitting to myself, and that I was admitting to anyone else around me. And so, of course, I went down this big rabbit hole of personal development. And I remember just like searching for like life coaching and just different things. And I was like, I am a nurse. I worked so hard to become a nurse. It just felt like I was giving up this part of me that I fought tooth and nail to become, right? And I was proud to be a nurse. And I remember just somehow like stumbling across, I feel like it was a YouTube video or something. And I saw you and Peter, and I'm like, what is nurse coaching? What is this? And so I remember, I think probably within days, again, I had no idea what it was, but I knew that it was something I wanted to learn about. And so I remember just like applying for a call, and it was all that I could speak about. I had no idea. I had no intention even looking into this realm. I really wasn't at a place yet where I was like, forget bedside nursing. It was really actually more of a personal development journey for me that I had no idea that I was entering into. And that's kind of how I stumbled across nurse coaching, and what really, really started this huge pivotal moment where I thought I was like signing up for this course that was going to teach me the nurse coach business. And what I got was so much more and much, much deeper than I ever anticipated to go.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, because gosh, I mean, there's just so much that you chose to share right there. And it is amazing how we can be in these experiences of life, and they can be some of our happiest moments, you know, talking about being there with your two little ones and being happily remarried. But we see it all the time, you know, as nurse coaches working with our clients, we see it all the time that there is very often something unresolved from the past that doesn't go away, right? And if there's not a place to talk about it or work through it or spend time with it and communicate with it, what happens, right? It sits with us, it stays with us, it festers, it weighs us down. I know that that's a big part that has inspired the work that you now do as a nurse coach, but I think it's really fascinating that then that journey actually brought you to this world on a search for personal development, because there are a lot of nurse coaches who come into this program because they want to become board certified nurse coaches, right? They want the skills, the tools, the mindsets, and all of that stuff. And when they then find out, oh, hey, I'm also going to grow personally, that's really surprising. But you, on the other hand, you're like, no, that's what I want. That's what I'm here for. If I get the other stuff, then that'll be a bonus.
Yeah. Yeah. I truly don't even think that I realized the journey that I was about to embark on. I knew it was going to be a little bit of both, but I remember even just like sitting in just one of the lessons one time and saying like, I have no idea if I am going to even make this a business. I never, ever wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I laugh at myself. I'm like this walking contradiction. But I remember just saying like, I don't care if I get anything out of it. Like this already, like, I think I was like a couple of weeks in, I was like, this is like the thing that I needed that I didn't even know that I needed.
Well, that's really cool, because what I just heard you say is you're like 2 weeks into the program and you're already having that moment of like, if I get nothing else out of this journey, it was worth it. It was worth making this investment in myself. And that's honestly what we as teachers and leaders of the Nurse Coach Collective, that's what we want our students and our nurses to feel every single step of the way. And the same thing I'm sure you can relate to now as an entrepreneur and with your own clients. It's like your client may sign up with you for a 3-month contract, for a 6-month contract, but you want them to walk away from that very first call with you or that very first session feeling like, I got it. If I get nothing else out of this relationship, then it was well worth the investment. So that is such a really, really powerful feeling, Tiffany. And I'm blown away and really, really glad you got to experience that.
Yeah, so am I.
Something funny happened for you. And I know this because you put this in your information that you provided when you signed up to be a guest here on the podcast, which was you had the application call, you got excited about becoming a nurse coach, but it wasn't that easy for you to say yes, even though you knew it in your heart. So tell me that story, build it out for me, because I got a good chuckle at that.
Yeah, yes. I was terrified. This is someone you're speaking to who drove around the exact same car that she was gifted at 15 years old, never had a credit card, was prided in the fact that, just all these different things that I had never truly invested into, and myself being absolutely one of them outside of my nursing degree. So I remember just like being excited, and I remember being like, okay, I think this is the thing. Like, I don't really know what it looks like, but like it just felt so right to me. And I remember like, God bless my husband, because he has been such a support in this journey. I do not give him enough credit, but he is absolutely 100%. He is the reason that I am a nurse coach. He is the reason I invested. And I remember sitting down with him. I have always been really, really good with my money, and so has he. And we've just built so much together. And I remember saying like, okay, I think this is what I really want to do. This is how much it cost. And like, are you okay with that? And like almost like asking for permission. And I remember him looking at me and just having the conversation, and him being fully on board, even though he, again, also had no idea. He's a nurse as well, actually. He works in the emergency room as
I didn't
well.
know that.
Yes,
Oh, cool.
we are both nurses. And so I just remember him being like, yeah, let's do it. And he is actually the one who hit the submit button. I had my finger over it, and I was breathing heavily, and I was like, this is it. I am about to embark on, I do not know what. I am about to invest in myself. Okay, here we go. And I remember just my finger just pausing over the button and looking up at him and saying, you have to do it for me. And so we did it together, and it was the best decision that I could have made alongside him, and just like having that support. It's funny because even though I had the support, there was just still so much hesitancy because I didn't have any idea what I was about to step into.
Why do you think it was important now, being where you are now and knowing what you know now? I'll dive in more to why that was such an important decision for you, but like also for your husband. Why was it such an important moment and decision for him to support you with?
I think it was just having somebody fully have my back, even though he had no idea what I was doing, right? Like I even think of this like entrepreneurship world, and like we had so much connection, and we still do when it comes to nursing and bedside and talking about the ER, but this is just such a different world. And I was entering, and it almost felt like I was like stepping through into just this new realm that he didn't have any idea about. I didn't have any idea about, but it was almost just like, right? It's like you think of yourself just like running to the finish line, and him just being that person, just being like, go, you can do it.
Yes.
So I think just having that, even though I had no idea what I was about to do, I didn't know what this was going to turn into, that I was going to be an entrepreneur. It was just him believing when I maybe had a sliver of resistance, that was definitely helpful.
Yeah, well, I bet his life and his relationship and family has changed a bit too, alongside your growth and your journey.
Absolutely, yes.
And I think this is a good reminder to, all of our listeners and viewers, like how important it is to have even one person to be your support. And, some of us have partners, some of us have parents or children or siblings or friends, it can be anyone. But I really think it's important to pause and ask yourself, who are those people that you can call on and you can have those conversations and you can say, hey, here are my dreams and desires, but oh gosh, am I feeling resistant? Help me hit the button, right? Because we all need help pressing that button sometimes. And on the flip side of that, we often have the opportunity to be that support for other people. So I think this is just a great reminder of how pivotal that one moment can be. And here we have the great, example of literally pressing the button, yes, click join. But that's so metaphorical. It can show up so many different ways. We see it with our coaching clients all the time. It's like, what's your metaphorical yes button click that's going to get you to that next level and be that portal that's going to kind of open up the doors to the new world, the new realm.
100%, because it absolutely starts with you, right? It like completely shifted so much. And we speak about like entering in this portal. Like as soon as I did that, so much in my personal life, me saying yes to myself, having that support from my husband and just like believing in me, it truly changed so much, which was something that I was missing for a really, really long time. Just like that belief in myself and that I could do this, even though I didn't really know exactly what it was that I was doing, right? We talk about this fear of the unknown, and doing it anyways. And this was definitely my moment of like, yeah, I don't know what is this going to be? And I'm going to do it anyways.
So, Tiffany, I'm curious to hear more about your personal growth that you have experienced, if you're willing to share, because you have alluded to this idea that really early on in the course, right? You're experiencing some of these shifts and experiencing this growth that made it all feel worthwhile, and that you went from this version of yourself who had fear and doubts and never saw becoming an entrepreneur a possibility to now where you are as being really successful in your life and in your practice. But I'm curious, can you put words to, or how do you understand like what the transformation was that occurred within you and how that happened, right? Because at the end of the day, becoming a nurse coach is an online course, right? It's taking lessons online, it's having a community, it's working with practice clients, right? Checking those boxes off. But you and I know, because we've done it, is that it's so much more than that. But it's sometimes hard to put into words. So I'm laying that all out on the table and wondering what comes up for you.
I think when I think back, like on my journey and just like the transformation that I have personally had, it truly started with so many things from my past and really actually coming to terms with what I was feeling and with what I was going through. I think for a really long time, I walked around with this projection to the world that I was so okay and that nothing was going to bother me. And I had to be really, really strong because this is something that I had to do in order to survive in those moments. And so it was really being able to welcome my humanness. I speak about this all the time about recognizing that I am a human, and with that, my humanness, right? I have emotions and sensations and all these different things that I had really learned how to shove into a box for quite some time. And there were very, very few people who had access to that. And I wasn't even one of them. And so I think for me, it was so much unlearning. It was so much just like breaking away from this paradigm that I had built for so long in the way that people viewed me and how I presented myself, and just really, really unraveling that. And, we speak about the deep side, and that is definitely where I tend to go. And it's a lot, right? It's simple, but it's not easy by any means. And I required a lot of support. And that is something that I really, really struggled with for a long time. And I am still working to refine and to build upon these things. And I think when I really recognized that this is just, I am in a committed relationship with myself, that was something I had not realized for a long time. I actually did a mirror work class today about this, about the fact of like, you are your most important relationship. And I had not viewed myself like that for a really, really long time. So it was just recognizing this piece that I had to allow myself to come first, which was really tough. I was a new mom. I was a mom to two under two. I was living with my in-laws. I was all these things. It was a lot in the very, very beginning. And so I feel like when you first start your personal development journey, it's like all these like scabs come up that you didn't even know were like still there. And you thought that these things you were like, I remember being on like my first peer coaching call, and I was like, I'm going to like get some information about business, right? That's why we're here. And I remember just like, I think within 3 minutes crying hysterically. And I was like, oh, there's a lot that needs to be unpacked here. And so slowly over the past, I think it's been like almost 3 years at this point when I first started the collective, it's like we've been just slowly peeling things back on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, and just really allowing myself to just deepen that connection to me. Because if I can't show up for me, it's really, really hard for me to show up for other people in the way that I want to. And I think that I was kidding myself for a really long time as I was navigating with like this shield, this armor that was on. It's heavy. It's heavy when you carry that around.
It's fascinating to hear you talk about this, and I can almost remember the version of you who started the course, many, many months ago. And you're right, it was a different person, right? You have come out of all of these different layers, and you think differently, you talk differently, you hold yourself differently, you show up differently from a, physical, interpersonal, energetic perspective. It's pretty amazing to see from the outside. And now also to be able to hear a little bit of the language behind what was going on the inside. It's really fascinating. And it is a great opportunity for deep work and for self-reflection. And I'm so happy that you were able to do that inside of the course and even with your peers, right? On those very first moments of the very first call. Sounds like you had a good partnership there if they're able to pull that off. Tears in the first 3 minutes.
Yes. Yeah. No, I'm so thankful for, especially, my peer coaches were absolutely amazing. And I think it was also, we talk about just like the power of holding space and just to be given, right? Because when I think back to that, it's like, I hear this all the time of like, what's the best question or the amazing question? And I'm like, it's truly just, I don't think that it is about that. It's the power of the space that we hold and the safety that we bring in. And I remember just feeling that and being like, whoo, I don't think I have been given space or allowed myself space to truly voice the things that were going on that I wasn't even fully aware of, right? I would say things and like almost catch myself off guard of like, oh, there's something that needs some exploration there that I didn't even realize.
Most of the time when you ask another human, right, really ask them for the truth. When is the last time that you have felt truly seen? When's the last time you have felt truly heard and someone has just been there to hold space for you in all your rawness and all your humanness? And most often the response, if someone's being really, really honest, most often the response you're going to get is never. right? And it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking because we all need to be seen and need to be heard. And I think that is one of the most beautiful things about nurse coaching is that it gives us the opportunity to, yes, do our own reflective work and hear and see and listen to ourselves, but also be able to provide that for others. As you said, that space and holding that really powerful and beautiful coaching container for another person.
I totally agree that, right? That's what I get to do now for a living, which is like crazy and like so amazing. And it's my favorite thing to be able to do for another human being that I got to do at bedside, but nowhere near the capacity and the complexity that I get to do it at now, right? We're thinking about like in between med passes and oh my gosh, I remember when I was first starting out and like in the collective, I was like, I am going to coach wherever I can go. My poor ER, they were like, we would like call it like one of like the rooms we would go into and it'd be like, this is like the Tiffany room where you come and you speak to her. And, they were
cool.
They were
I want to go to the
troopers.
Tiffany room.
Oh
I think I'm
my
in
gosh.
the Tiffany room right now.
Yeah. Yes, we would have our TIF talks and they would come in and we would, speak in between patients. And then I would be coaching with my patients in whatever way that they were willing to listen. And I was willing to make coaching come into any part of my life as I was trying to figure out what the heck this business was going to look like or if it was going to be a business. And so it's just amazing what you get to do when you like open this realm that I was never exposed to. You don't learn these things in nursing school. That is for sure.
No, you don't, unfortunately. But that's why, we're picking up the slack and we're teaching as many nurses as we can and dragging them along with us. I love that.
Yes.
And I think that speaks volumes to me, Tiffany. Like that speaks volumes to why and how you've gotten to where you are today, because you are someone who was invested from the beginning in bringing coaching into everything that you do, right? Not everybody is going to take the learning and then go right back to the bedside or to the ER and talk with their colleagues and talk with their patients and bring nurse coaching in, but you absolutely can. And dare I say, should, if you want to really, make the most of it and learn the most and have the most impact. I think that is just totally badass that you were able to do that. And it sounds like people in the ER were quite receptive to it. They were coming in for their TIF talks.
They definitely were. A few of them were my first clients. So they played a huge role. I work with some of them still to this day. So yeah, I loved it. I loved being able to do that. It was amazing just to be able to bring that in. And it was so interesting. I remember when I like came in because I was always the person everyone talked to before I entered coaching. I think you hear so many people say that of like, yeah, all these people were coming to me before. And so when I told some people that this was my venture and my new journey, they were like, yeah, that makes total sense.
Of course it is,
total
Tiffany.
sense. I was like,
Yeah.
really? It was definitely exciting.
All right. Well, there was that positive feedback, that positive reinforcement to keep you going. I'm glad you had it because this is definitely where you're supposed to be. So, okay. I want to switch gears and talk about basically what I feel we've been alluding to for the last 30 minutes, which is like all of the goodness that you do as a professional nurse coach in your practice. And before we dive into that, I want to say, as a reflection on everything we've really spoken to up to this point, is that if you are a nurse considering the realm of nurse coaching, and you have heard us talk about things like vulnerability and reflecting on yourself and personal growth, if those things are maybe a little bit scary or maybe a little bit intimidating, that's okay. That's totally normal. And what I want you to know is that becoming a nurse coach doesn't necessitate, right, picking off the scabs, as Tiffany said, but it does offer space and opportunity for that really deep and really powerful work to be done if you want to. So it's a invitation and an opening rather than something to fear. It's something to, I think, get really excited about. Does that resonate, Tiffany? Does that feel like something worth telling people? Because I know I would have been scared away by those big scary topics and be like, oh, I'm not going to do this if I have to give all that.
Yes, no, 100%. I think, right, one of the things that we always say is just really meeting you where you're at. And a lot of the times it's not always the deep end. Usually ends up there, but that doesn't have to start there. And it gets to be this invitation for conversation to see what happens when we allow ourselves just to get a little bit curious and to just see what comes up and where it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, really well said. And, I think another question that we get, and maybe you have heard this from your fellow nurses as well when they're thinking about becoming a nurse coach, is that wondering, can I become a nurse coach if I still have so much work to do on myself, right? If I am still a work in progress, if I still need to grow. And what this conversation is really shining some light on is the fact that we are all works in progress, right? We all have a lot of room to grow. And that's the fun part. And yes, you can absolutely become a nurse coach while you are on your journey. The only thing is to recognize that you're on your journey. You're supporting your clients on theirs as you also walk your own talk along the way.
Yes. I think if anything, it makes you an even more powerful and relatable coach, right? And you get to really understand a part of your client's journey because, again, you are walking in your own and they get to look very, very different. But there's just this piece of connection. There's no pedestaling. It's just knowing like, yeah, we are both on this journey and I am doing my thing while I get to support you. And I think that there's something so special and amazing about that because I want to work with a coach who is continuously refining and working on themselves. That's what I'm attracted to. So I think that there's something really amazing to be said about that you're even having this acknowledgement that like, yeah, I have some stuff that I want to work through and I'm going to work through.
Yes. The moment that you have somebody telling you or portraying the image that, right, I am the epitome of success. I've got it all figured out. I'm no longer working on myself because I am perfect. You hit the ground and you run in the other direction, right?
Yeah,
because
I want to work with
all
a
know
human.
that's somebody with walls up. Yes. Human.
Yes.
Coming back to the humans in our humanness. Yeah. Yes. I love it, Tiffany. All right. Well, spill the beans on where you are at now in your life as a nurse coach and what your practice looks like. And I know it's taken, many steps and many iterations, so you can share as much of your journey in getting here as you'd like, but tell us a little bit more about what your practice looks like.
So I am now fully stepped away from bedside. So I have been for about 8 months at this point. I definitely transitioned. I was not the person who quit their job off the bat. That was a little bit too scary for me. And so I slowly worked my way down and I really started connecting with amazing humans, right? People I worked with, people I didn't work with, and just getting myself out there. And so I do a lot of one-on-one work. I have about 8 clients at this point that I'm working with one-on-one in different levels. I've just hosted a masterclass. I am now going to be opening up a group space. So as I've continued this journey, the way that it looks has really gotten to evolve. And that was really scary for me in the beginning because I don't know about you, but I definitely had some feelings about change. And so,
oh yeah,
yes, we have really had to befriend change and support our nervous system tremendously as we navigate it. And I think as I really started to just detach from the outcome, I think that I'm really, really good about being unattached now to just allow myself to just play in my business, to let myself have fun because I used to find that I would get so frustrated and so burnt out or so just in my own head. And I would say like, why am I doing this if I don't get to have fun? If I don't get to connect with people on a way that feels really, really good to me? I've also collaborated with other nurse coaches in a group space. I'm hosting a retreat who would have thought? I never would have thought that I would be hosting a retreat, and it is coming up soon. And so it's like I'm in so many different places, and yet it's the best that I have truly, truly ever felt while working. It's like it still feels almost like too good to be true. I'm like, what the heck? This is what I get to do. It's so amazing. And yeah, I can't thank you guys enough, honestly, because I would not be here without you guys.
Hey, well, we can provide a little bit of the foundation, but you did the work, baby. You are the one who pulled all of that off. That is so cool. And remind me, when did you graduate from the Nurse Coach Collective?
I think it was about almost like 2.5, 3 years at this point was when I started. So I was in collective 16.3, I think. It's awful that I don't know the exact date, but I looked it up before I got on here.
Time is a blur.
It's like,
what is time anyway?
I was like, wait, which collective was I exactly in? And I was totally wrong. But yeah, 16.3. I'd have to look at the exact date.
It's only been a little over a year since you graduated. Okay, then you had to go through the studying and the sitting for the boards and becoming a board certified nurse coach. So in only basically a year's time span, you're able to sit here and tell me about this evolution of your self and also your nurse coaching practice, where you have pretty much a full client load. I mean, when we do really deep work as nurse coaches, working with 8 clients at a time will keep you more than busy. So you have your one-on-one clients, you're stepping into the group coaching space, leading this masterclass, which I've got to hear more about, and now getting ready to launch a retreat, which I've got to hear more about. So, I mean, this is really, really cool stuff, Tiffany, and I hope that you are taking the time to like hear yourself speak as you're saying these words and experience the celebration of all of this that you've accomplished. It's absolutely incredible.
I think even when you say that, because I always like timestamp to like the day I said yes to the collective, but it's so true. Like reflecting back, this is really only like I'm entering in to my 2nd year. And so, yeah, even just hearing you reflect back on it, I'm like, dang, I have done a lot of things. And
yes.
It feels so much longer. And I think when people ask me like, well, how long have you been doing this? I'm like, oh my gosh, I really haven't been doing it that long. But you're right. When you're in just like doing such deep work and connecting with just amazing people that are a part of this community, leaders of this community, me, myself stepping into leadership in this community. It's amazing to see what right? They talk about collapsing time, and it is so true that when you are in this work, you really, really do collapse time, and it's wild to experience and to see and to be a part of. And what you can do in the matter of a year is like astounding.
Yeah. Well, I think you and I probably both remember what time felt like back when you were working in the ER or back when I was working in the ICU. Yep, I see it from your face right now. I don't need to say no more. Yeah, I see it.
Yes.
And it's like one 12-hour shift felt like an eternity, right? And now how different it is in your role as a nurse coach, in my role as a nurse coach, because it's so time is just so different when you're doing work that you love and when you're passionate about it and when it just you feel it on that soul level. Like time is something totally, totally different. It's hard to put into words, but I think you know what I'm saying.
I 100% know what you're saying. Like it even just like came back into me. I had someone say, "You sure you don't want to come back for one shift?" And I was like, oh my gosh, the thought of even when I was at PRN working like once a month at bedside to like maintain, I was like, oh my gosh, this day is never ending. And I just remember feeling so drained. So yes, I definitely remember.
And there are a lot of nurse coaches who love taking this work and bringing it back to the hospital or to the bedside or to their units and leadership within that type of nursing setting. And you know, I really want that side to be known because we need nurse coaches in every aspect, but it's brilliant that you were able to recognize where you wanted to be and where you didn't want to be, which is part of what personal growth is all about, and follow that to get you to where you are. Just so cool, Tiffany.
And no, I love that you said that because one of my clients is actually a nurse coach in the hospital. She came to me before even deciding to join the collective with working with me. She really got inspired to join the collective. And so I 100% agree. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing that there are even people that are getting into the hospital and bringing this service there. Is I wish that I would have had that when I was at bedside. So I absolutely support it.
There is no wrong place
No.
to practice nurse coaching, right? There's no wrong way to be a nurse coach.
No, and it's truly limitless, which is, I think, what's so amazing, just to see like the different things that people within this community are doing and bringing nurse coaching. It's amazing to be able to see where it has gone.
I want to be able to understand a little bit more about your particular avenue and way of approaching nurse coaching. I know we've got limited amount of time left here together, but like there's something super unique about the work that you do in terms of taking that deep approach, doing some of that mirror work, having it be about the personal growth and the reflection. I think I have heard you mention before you bring in some somatic work and somatic coaching. Can you like help me understand what's unique about your practice and the approach that you take, the angle of nurse coaching, so to speak?
Yeah. So I definitely would say that I err more on like personal development, supporting mental health, really bringing awareness to what it is that we're even feeling. So when we say from like a somatic lens, so I am also in the midst of becoming a somatic experiencing practitioner because I have just seen my own transformation, right? We talk about just like the work that we get to support ourselves with in, yeah, what it's like to even be in the present moment. I think so often, especially right when we think of ourselves as nurses and moms and, partners, we're constantly in this like go, go, go. And it's really hard to slow down and to become present and to celebrate things that we have been doing because we're just in this era of just instant access. And so I really, really like to work with my clients around slowing down and even noticing what's present in their own body, right? A lot of the times we're saying these things that we want, but it's not even matching what we're feeling inside. And it can become this like repellent nature where it's like, yeah, I want to make more money. But then when we say it and I actually have them pay attention to their body, they're like, ooh, I actually felt myself close off. I actually felt my heart kind of race as if I was anxious. And so we really get to explore it from a somatic lens. I also love to say that I like to view things through a very compassionate lens. We are often our worst enemies. We speak so poorly to ourselves. It's right. It's become this like adaptive nature. This is what I was speaking to today when I was talking about that mirror work class of like, yeah, what is the relationship with yourself? Is it a healthy one? Is it an unhealthy one? And so really just establishing this connection back to self and really bringing that awareness into like, yeah, what is it that I'm even feeling so we can take steps moving forward towards the things that we really truly want to do. And we get to feel good while we're doing it. Because I know when I became an entrepreneur, I felt awful. I was like so excited, but yet I felt so overwhelmed and I like could not snap out of it. And so as I've continued down this journey, it's been so important for me to be able to use my own story and also the supportive tools that I received and that I am now learning on an even deeper level to be able to bring that to my clients, because I don't just work with nurse coaches. I work with contractors and cosmetologists and nurses and real estate agents. And I worked with a teenager. And so it's really just being able to support the human in front of me and having them recognize what that's like, because a lot of the times we're walking around forgetting that we are human.
It gives me chills just listening to you describe that work, and it speaks to how all of us need support. All of us need a bit of help doing the deep work. And even beyond the help, we need this space, right? The space and the time to be focused and dedicated to do that kind of deep work. And I think it can be confusing when you're first learning about nurse coaching of like, what does it actually mean to be a nurse coach, to be a nurse who practices as a health and wellness coach? Well, does that mean I'm going to focus on reversing chronic disease? Am I going to focus on nutrition, on exercise, on medication? The answer is like, yes. Yes, 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 yes. It can mean all of those things. And it can also mean everything that you're describing, which is this really deep, personal, soul level, transformative work. Being a nurse coach can mean all of those things. And how cool is that?
I love that because you're right. We talk about holistic healing. It really just gets to encompass all of these different parts and we're all kind of doing things in our own different way. And I think that's really what just gets to make it so amazing.
Yes. Okay. So Tiffany, after everything that we have talked about today, what would you say if you could sum it up into a couple of sentences? What would you say is your favorite thing about being a nurse coach?
I would honestly say it was my own personal transformation and the capacity that I have been able to build for myself, which has not only allowed me to create a business that's amazing, but the impact that I've gotten to give to other people, to my family, to my children, right? If I have to think about the biggest and best thing that I have gotten is it's being able to gift this to my children, right? Working on me so they don't have to work on them as much as I did.
Talk about generational healing. It starts with us, right?
100%. That is it in a nutshell. Absolutely.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Tiffany, it has been so much fun getting to connect with you today. Before we go, to all of our nurses out there who are listening and watching, and maybe they are thinking about nurse coaching, maybe they're feeling some of those things that you felt when you were first learning about the field, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to have someone help them push the button and that it will be the most exciting journey that they could ever imagine and then some.
Push the button.
Push the button.
I love that. And how about to our fellow nurse coaches? Any words of wisdom that you want to leave your professional nurse coach colleagues with? Don't put yourself into a box and to let yourself truly just trailblaze, because we really are, we're all just trailblazing out here, and we're changing the world in a way that they never knew that they needed. Don't let your light go dim, because the world really, really needs what you have to offer. Oh, yes, yes. So well said. The world really needs what we nurse coaches have to offer. And the world really needs a whole lot more nurse coaches, because this is a big world and there are a lot of people in it, and we got a lot of work and healing to do. Well, Tiffany, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here, to connect with me. I'm so excited to get to share this with our community. I think it's going to be so valuable and fun for everybody who's listening in and watching. Once again, my friends, nurses, nurse coaches, this has been an epic conversation with Nurse Coach Tiffany, who is demonstrating to us how powerful and transformative the work of a nurse coach can truly be. Please don't forget, if you are interested in becoming a nurse coach, you have all the access to our website inside of the show notes, thenursecoaches.com. Come and join us, click the button, and we do have the next Nurse Coach Conference coming up in 2024. Find out all the details, and we would love to see you there. And it sounds like if there's another retreat you want to go to in the meantime, Tiffany might have one coming soon. So be sure to check out our information in the show notes as well. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye, Tiffany. Bye.